assist with the criminal investigation and pursue all civil avenues if they are appropriate.
Do you know how many times he had met with the FBI? Was it just twice?
No, it was multiple times.
Do you know how many?
No, I don't have specifics at this time. Again, a lot of the facts that we want to confirm, and we don't want to be thrown out speculation, we cannot confirm until the FBI's investigation, the criminal investigation is complete, because they have a lot of the records and data that, frankly, we public records requested we have not had access to. We don't want to speculate here today.
With all due respect, I would venture to say throughout the nation, there's not a lot of sympathy with the victim. Your response?
Well, I think we've got an overwhelming amount of support, especially from the Boston community and the public at large, saying, hey, we don't want to live in a country where our federal officers can just kill somebody in their own home without coming out on the record and explaining why that happened. It's been months since an individual was killed, and this is the first time, normally every single time when somebody's killed by the FBI within 24 hours, the FBI comes on the record and explains their justification for taking the life of another human being. Here it's been months and we don't know why this individual was shot and killed. So it's not just about the family and the individual, but it's about the due process of law, and that there's transparency in our government, and that the rule of law is protected and honored. So I think as Americans we all cherish and value the rule of law, and it's something we hold very dear.
Well, they did say, though, early on, that he attacked an agent, and the agent was hurt with non-life-threatening injuries. We know that he's a great fighter. His father admits that he was good at receiving pictures.
Yeah.
So if you hear something eventually that says he attacked them and he's an MMA fighter and really good at it, and he attacked an agent, what then would your response be?
I'd like to comment on this. As far as sympathy is concerned, my client's son may have been an acquaintance with a person involved with an evil act, but merely being an acquaintance, merely being a Muslim, merely being from a Russian province, does not mean that he isn't deserving of proper treatment by law enforcement officers. Now, weeks prior to this incident, my client, who you say was a trained fighter in a room with several law enforcement officers without a weapon, had knee surgery. And I'd like to just show you a photograph of the knee that made him to be a disabled fighter that evening, if he was a fighter at all. I also want to share with you photographs here of the funeral back in his hometown. And the father came in, collected his belongings, and these are the photographs that the father took of his apartment.
Do you know when that photograph was taken of his knee? How old is that?
Do you know when the photograph of the knee was taken?
После операции, я точно день не могу сказать, но недели-две.
I couldn't tell the date precisely, but approximately 2 weeks after the surgery.
Well,
When was the surgery?
Две недели как повязку сняли и сразу секретарь.
It was, he says, after the bandages were taken off, that's when the picture was taken.
When
okay,
was
but
the
when was the
surgery?
surgery in relation to his death?
Знаю, у меня есть документы, что история болезни, я взял в больнице, у меня факт есть
He
история
has some
болезни.
medical records that he has to refer to the
We'll have to get that information for you later. I don't have a precise date, but it's my understanding. It's my understanding it's important. He was recovering from his knee surgery at the time of this
And I
incident.
believe that's in our notes. We can probably get it for you after the conference. But it was relatively recent. He was still limping. He was still having a difficult time walking at the time when he was being interviewed by the agents.
But we firmly believe that this is the type of information that Mr. Ashton will investigate. He, I believe, may want to speak to Mr. Todashev, and we'll make him available for Mr. Ashton.
And speaking within our context within the Department of Justice, I mean, what they made very clear is that there was no reason Mr. Todashev should have been killed. So something, you know, at best case, the FBI did a terrible job, an incompetent job in how they handled that evening.
So
And
who's telling you this, just so we're clear? Who's saying this?
But we-
I mean, don't give me a
Right.
name.
Yeah.
But
Context within the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Are these whistleblowers, or are they people that just don't?
There, I think a lot of people involved in this case, even from the federal side, are very upset about what happened, because it's never good when somebody who's being questioned by law enforcement officers ends up dead in his own home. And a lot of people are very frustrated. So there's a lot of, I think, sympathy even within the Bureau, even within the Department of Justice and the State Attorney's Office regarding what happened. And that's why the Department of Justice is conducting its own criminal independent investigation. And that's why the State Attorney's Office is also conducting a criminal investigation.
And we really believe that in most cases where there's a shooting such as this, there's a perfunctory investigation, and 999 out of 1,000 times the law enforcement officers are cleared. We really have reason to believe that in this instance, the results of the investigation will not be swept under the rug, and the law enforcement officers will be held accountable. I think it's, I know you would like us to try to explain what we believe happened in that house, but we're not going to do that today.
Can you tell me who Ashton is when they made the decision to investigate, and why you think that they made the decision to investigate after the apparent refusal of other agencies?
Mr. Ashton is the state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties, and he's the head prosecutor. And since a killing occurred in his district, he's made a decision to investigate. It's my understanding that he's intending to do a very aggressive and thorough investigation and hold people accountable.
When did he decide to do this?
He just announced that last week.
Yeah, I think, they've been looking into it for quite some time. They announced it publicly last week, so you had a question.
You kind of sideswept this question earlier. There are early reports that Todashev implicated himself in that triple homicide in Massachusetts. What say you to that?
Yeah, we have absolutely no reason to believe that. We saw something like that. We read something like that in the media, and I have absolutely no reason to think that he was involved in any kind of homicide.
And nonetheless, we have a judicial system, we have the courts. There's no reason he should have ended up dead.
A lot of times when officers use deadly force, their reason will be, I felt my life is in danger, or someone else's life is in danger. And it's hard to second guess somebody unless you're in their shoes, which is, I think, the reason a lot of times there is no action after, because how can you question how they felt? But that being said, there were several officers in the home with him. Do you think that that factors into your questions about what happened? In other words, if there are, I don't know how many officers were in the house, but more than one officer whose arm is in the house with him. Can you talk about that?
The answer is yes.
And we hired a homicide detective to examine the scene, and one of the things that we've confirmed is that only one officer, it was the FBI agent who shot all the bullets. And what the homicide detective's opinion was, because he worked for law enforcement for over 20 years, he said if there's a justifiable shooting, typically all the officers will draw their weapons. In this case, one weapon.
But we don't, no, please, let me just comment on what Mr. Sibley said. The state attorney's investigation may show something different. We're not going to comment on what happened in that house.
Right.
We don't know, and we'd like Mr. Ashton to make that decision.
So you're hearing that? I mean, where did that come from?
No, we hired our own investigators who have their own opinions,
Right.
and we'll
But
share
again,
those.
these are all
with-
opinions.
In other
They
words,
cannot be
because
confirmed.
Every bullet is coming from the same angle? Is that how
Again,
how would he know
you will see when it comes out in the investigation. Again, the point is, we are thanking the state attorney's office for doing their own investigation. We support that investigation. We will cooperate with this investigation, but we believe it's not healthy to speculate as much. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think we've told you all everything we can tell you today.
I'm just curious, if this investigation does not go the way that I'm guessing you're hoping it does, will you still move forward with a civil suit anyway?
No, what I'm hoping for is that we find out the truth, because Mr. Todashev deserves to know what happened to his son. And that's all we're hoping for. We'll let the chips fall where they may, and then we'll make a decision about a civil action once we get the results of the investigation.
Have you been in contact with Mr. Ashton? What kind of help could you provide him?
We're reaching out to his office, and we are looking to hopefully arrange a meeting with him and Mr. Todashev. We're also looking to arrange a meeting with him and the U.S. Attorney's office as well. I know there's some interest on both sides to have that happen.
Do you have anything scheduled yet?
Not as of yet.
Can you give me an idea of just an estimate of time on what is a reasonable amount of time for this investigation where you feel like they will do a thorough job, but then also get a response?
I would please ask you to contact Mr. Ashton's office
Right.
because we would like to know the answer to that as well. Mr. Todashev can't stay in the United States forever. We would like this to move along rapidly. So please feel free to direct that to Mr. Ashton.
Define rapid.
I think
Rapidly.
a lot of the questions are going in the realm of speculation. We really don't want to speculate. Again, we want to thank the State Attorney's Office for their investigation. What's clear at the end of the day is what this investigation will reveal how such occurrences could be avoided in the future. So it's very clear that Mr. Todashev should not have ended up dead. What could the FBI do to avoid such things being repeated? And if there was any violations, that those violations be prosecuted. Thank you so much.
Does anybody need
Non-speculative question, you guys are
non-speculative.
saying the last name differently, can you agree on?
Yeah, let's spell the names. Todashev? Well, if I mispronounce the name, it's my own fault.
In the mic, please.
That's how he has pronounced it.
Okay.
Todashev.
How long will Mr. Todashev be here? And
He was planning to leave this week. We've asked him to extend his visit
for how long?
until at least we have a meeting with Mr. Ashton.
Playing devil's advocate here.
Let's do this after. We need to spell some names and.
But I
so-
mean, in a shooting situation, come up with some possibilities where it would happen out of the blue. In other words, he's not cooperating, I'm gonna shoot him and kill him.
No,
we're not going to
we can't speculate.
Again, I think we need to have patience. I think the media needs to have patience. I think we're trying not to feed into the myths. Remember, since day one, there's been contradictory statements from the FBI. We're trying to make sure that all our everything is straightforward. So we're going to wait till the investigation is cleared from the State Attorney's Office. To spell the names again, I know there was some requests that we spell the names, especially for those joining us
Titles?
on the conference call. Yes, we'll do that. So again, starting with myself, Hassan. Hassan. Last name Shibli. Shibly. I'm an attorney and executive director of CARE Florida. CAIR. CARE Florida, the Council on American Islamic Relations in Florida, the Tampa office. With us we have again Victoria Johnson. That's Victoria. Last name Johnson. Johnsson. She's interpreting for Mr. Abdul Baqi Todashev. Abdulbaki. Last name Todashev. We have attorney Eric Ludin. ERIC. Last name Ludin. We have Yvette Acosta Macmillan. YVETTE. Acosta ACOSTA. Macmillan MAC. Capital MILLAN. We have attorney, and she's with the ACLU. She's also an attorney. Yes, staff attorney of the ACLU. And we have attorney Ahmed Yakzan, AHMAD, last name YAKZAN. And also not with us today is lead counsel on the case, attorney Barry Cohen, BARRY, last name COHEN. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all coming out today. Have a good day.
Thank you.